Obviously, we need a Roach Warren pretty soon here from Dark, if he is going to do it. He builds 20 more Lings. Dark here, once again going for a very late Ling Bane timing attack, but he hasn't taken more gases or a Roach Warren, so I think the Roach Warren just goes down. Okay, so Dark's going to go for a delayed Zergling Baneling attack. This is a really big surprise. It comes out at such an odd moment.
Yeah,
Su's only got a couple Banelings at home. He doesn't have much to defend this.
Because it doesn't really make any sense, right? Nobody is supposed to build that many Lings and suddenly Banelings as well in this phase in the game. Dark does have his 2 Banes coming in from the right side, just getting 7 or 8 drones.
His Baneling just blew up on a single Zergling. A huge mistake for Su. And because of that, he is caught out with his pants down. The worker line exposed here. Dark here playing the meta. Oh my god, he comes in with such an odd Ling Bane attack. Getting a lot of drones in. Oh, so many
insane
workers.
Damage. Like 13 drones going down. A Queen went down. A little bit of lost mining time as well. Just the most random Baneling Ling attack that you can possibly think of. 5 minutes into the game. You're not supposed to do this, and if you guys wonder why, it's just because normally your opponent can see it coming in advance, they have their own defensive Banelings ready, and then they can defend and they have an economic lead, but yeah, Su just didn't see it coming, did not expect it, the Roaches weren't ready yet.
Yeah.
And I must say, the timing by Dark there is impeccable, right? Because if he does this 25 seconds later, Roaches are actually out. So
even without seeing it, right?
Yeah.
The Roaches are out literally just as part of the build order by that point. That's what's so amazing about this. It seems like it's kind of random and silly, but you can tell there's a calculated element where Dark realizes players are being greedy and nobody is doing a Ling Bane pressure at that timing. Because of that, he is finding weakness in his opponent's expectation, not the actual build order or the physical nature of the game. But hey, Su here is going to swing in with a big counter attack.
Plus one was ready yet.
Roach speed as well, but that Spine Crawler, that Ling Flood, looks like it should be able to hold on for now.
Yeah, I really like the defensive spine there actually. Dark, of course, dealing quite a bit of damage on the other side of the map. He realizes that he can invest right now a little bit into those defenses, and he's got that Nidus network finishing up as well. I mean, Su is still just building units, so on one hand, you can say, like, should you really Nidus here if you're Dark? On the other hand, he is economically ahead, so he can actually stay ahead by just forcing out more and more units.
Yeah.
And eventually it's going to be harder and harder for Su to catch up, because 47 or 56 is a pretty big difference.
I mean, you don't even need to Nidus Worm here. Right now, you just need to survive. But the moment Su tries to drone up and go home, you've got the kill move on the counterattack with that Nidus Worm setup. He's going to try and hold this choke point. Su on 47 workers. He is down a ton of workers at this point. He needs to get the damage done right here, right now. These Roaches and Ravages, though, of Dark dodging the Biles. Notice how he keeps placing those corrosive Biles right in the choke point, forcing Su to disengage.
I mean, this map is just so long. The defense's advantage matters more than ever, right? It takes forever before the new Roaches that Su has produced will show up and actually participate in this battle. So I really don't think that Dark is going to struggle that much here. It's just drop a corrosive Bile, just disengage a little bit, and just keep kind of doing this. I mean, you're mining more than your opponent. Your Roaches spawn a lot quicker and join the battle almost immediately. There's really no reason to panic here if you're Dark.
I think Su here, definitely, he's trying to headbutt his way through Dark's defenses, but Dark methodically adding +2 range, adding more Roaches. He's still got that same economic advantage. He is not underestimating this, and Nidus going down on the other side of the map, but he's going to start spamming these corrosive Biles out. Dark is almost ready to just pounce on top of this army. As it is, I think he's just going to send 3 or 4 Roaches into that main base, meanwhile holding on at home. Such good play here. There we go. Yeah, 5 Roaches in the main. Su already behind on economy. His hand is forced. He has to attack in here. He can't get home to defend, but Dark has the bigger army on both sides.
Yeah, this is really going to hurt. I just don't really see a happy ending here for Su. I think he's in all the trouble, and I think he knows it as well. He's staying around longer than he ever should here, which means he's going to end up losing these Roaches, losing these Ravages, and it seems like we have our first quarter finalist of the WCS Global Finals 2019, and it is going to be Dark, but he had to work for it today, Pick.
Oh yeah, that one did not come easy. A few scary moments throughout that series. But Dark does end up standing victorious at the end there. And of course a word to his friend and longtime competitor there. But you know, such a close series, back and forth, and it is good to see people's hopes there on Su's shoulders. They definitely weren't misplaced. He took that series down to the line.
Yep, and we had a couple of interesting and close moments as well, right, when it came to builds. I mean, both players trying to skip out the Baneling Nest one time really worked out well for Su. Didn't work out too well for Dark as he got punished for it immediately, lost 15 rounds. But then I think in that final game, I loved it. It feels like the most random attack ever, but because it is so random, it's not that random anymore, and it's actually very well calculated. Just very well done.
It's so funny. I love Dark's ability there to just mind game his opponents, to find those little holes and expose those weaknesses. He's done it so many times before, and I think it's why he's such a dangerous opponent. So hard to get a read on this guy. Always able to just twist things around. Well, I can't wait to hear from the man himself, and we are going to be hearing from Dark in just a second.
Thank you very much, guys. Congratulations, Dark. You are the first player here in Korea that has advanced to that round of 8 in Anaheim, and it's actually your second year in a row in making it to that top 8. Tell us what's going through your head right now.
일단 박영훈 선수 축하드리고요. 2년 연속 8강 진출에 소감 한마디 해주세요.
정말 생각해온 것보다 엄청 힘든 16강이었고요. 전부 다 풀세트 접전까지 가면서 너무 체력적으로 좀 힘들었는데 이기게 돼서 이제 미국으로 가잖아요. 그래서 되게 기쁩니다.
He says, honestly, guys, it was a lot harder than I expected. Both games, it went all 5 maps, all the way to that final map both times. So it was definitely a very difficult day for me. But now that I'm advancing and going to America, I am very, very happy about that. And when it comes to ZVZ, it seems like you prefer opening Lingbane over Roaches. Is there a special reason for that?
박영훈 선수는 저저전에서 이제 바퀴 위주 플레이보다는 잉링을 선호하는데 특별한 이유가 있나요?
아니 사실 이번에 준비해온 거는 완전 다른데 좀 민수 형이 째는 걸 보니까 제가 못 참겠더라고요. 그래서 약간 공격적인 본능이 나오지 않았나 싶어요.
So he says, truth be told, I prepared completely different builds coming into today going up against him. But as I played against him, I actually felt that if I played a lot more aggressively, it would work a lot better against him. And I believe that's the reason why I went with those specific strategies and it was able to work as well as it did. And now, last year, your road at the BlizzCon ended against Cyril in that round of 8. This year, as the ranked number 1 in WCS Korea, what are your expectations for the BlizzCon playoffs?
작년 블리즈컨 때는 8강에서 세라 선수의 원패에서 블리즈컨 여정이 끝났는데 올해는 이제 WCS 코리아 1위로서 블리즈컨 플레이오프 각오 한마디 해주세요.
지금 만나서 뭐 확실하게 이긴다는 얘기는 못 드리겠지만 그래도 오늘 준비해온 거 거의 다 대부분 안 쓰게 돼서 좀 다행인 것 같고요. 그래서 뭐 8강에서 만나면 좀 힘들겠지만 그래도 이번엔 좀 꼭 극복할 수 있도록 더 노력하겠습니다.
So he says, I'm not going to make any guarantees about winning for sure when I get to Anaheim. But that being said, I think a lot of the strategies that I originally had prepared for today didn't get used because of different decisions I made on the spot. So I think that's a really good advantage for me. And I hope going into Anaheim, I'm able to show it a better performance and overcome that round of 8 and continue moving forward in the playoffs. So congratulations once again, Dark, on being the first player to advance here to Anaheim, to that round of 8. When we come back, we'll have the elimination match coming up next. It'll be Showtime taking on Special.
2019 WCS Global Finals, Round 16.
is your WCS Winter of Champions.
자, 이번 세 번째 만남에서 대열전 우승은 대기록을 세웁니다.
Yourself into a corner, and he taps out. Sue's done it. He's done it, Sue.
이제 GS의 슈퍼터너티 우승을 차지합니다.
Cyril is just too damn powerful. And Cyril is going to flawless victory his way.
우승 최초의 절구승가 됩니까? 그 이름의 다크 방영호.
Reynolds doing it, Maynard. He's doing it. He's trying to prophecy. It's done. The king has been vanquished. The 5 WCS streak is over.
진해 그리닝 슬로그 이병렬 우승.
Down again in the WCS Final GG. One more time, one more trophy.
최고의 자리에 올라서는 황정호 선수.
We're back here as we have Dark moving through into the round of 8, guaranteeing himself that spot at BlizzCon, already very apt here for our first group stage of the tournament as a whole, that our newest champion there from the Super Tournament is able to get himself that spot and move on through. Gentlemen, joining me, Maynard, Tasteless, Nathanius. That was a much quicker series, even though it went all to 5 games. Much quicker series than our previous two.
Dude, our first top 8 player, and it just felt like it just flew by.
It kind of did for the most part, yeah, in that Zerg versus Zerg.
Yeah, that series, yes.
Yes.
It was very, very... but Sue, like, I mean, it's the same story with every single series where the losing player put up such an impressive fight that how upset could they possibly be? I mean, obviously they want to be in the top 8, but they did such a great job going toe-to-toe with someone that they're probably not meant to beat.
It's very difficult right now to even kind of fully quantify where we are in this group right now, because everything has been so close. It's not like there's been a clear-cut winner on any of these series so far, Tasteless. So still very, very kind of narrow down towards the lower bracket matches and then into the deciders.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how close all these games have been. I thought in some cases we were going to have a one-sided series, which is not uncommon even with the top 16. Usually there's a pretty big skill gap in some cases, but today the games have just kicked ass. We've had incredibly close games, and it's great to see that we've gotten as many games as possible today. Already 15 games.
Yeah, the 15 games out of the possible 15 that we could have had so far. Nathanius, taking a look back at this series, of course, here, as we've had all this Zerg versus Zerg go down in these 5 final games, there was a little bit of variance here and there. Not quite as much moves into the mid-game and then the late game than I was really expecting coming out here, but overall, some quick finishes and then even some airplay towards the mid.
Well, you know, as an expert in Zerg versus Zerg and a massive fan of the matchup, really nothing tickles me pink quite like watching corruptors spew at each other in the middle of the skies. That was fantastic.
Favorite.
You know, that's really the breakdown, the excellence I look for. But I just want to echo Tasteless's point that I think the coolest thing about today so far has been that no one's looked bad. Like we've had close matches, maybe some expected players losing, right? The Koreans going to the winner match, but no one looked bad enough that you can write off any player in this group still.
Definitely so. Let's take a look at how everything went down here in this best of 5 series, which again went all the way here for our day number 1 in Group A. So let's take a little bit of a closer look, gentlemen, as we figure out exactly what went down. So start me at the beginning of the series, my friends.
No, I mean, it was a lot of aggression early on here. I mean, classic early game ZVZ scuffle, Ling, Baneling, dogfights going down here. Back and forth. I really wasn't sure who was going to be better at this when you have players like Sue and Dark. Both these guys are so excellent at it. It was a really close first 2 games.
ZVZ can be a little bit anticlimactic when one player takes some economic damage and then the other one just gets completely unscathed throughout that period of time. But both players here took a little bit here and there, and then obviously you saw that Dark was able to hold kind of Sue's aggression later on. So it shows Dark's strength as a defender, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, just that one engagement, like, really just brings apart, like, the micro management in those situations, the way that he was splitting up his forces, taking advantage of, using the banelings to get the drones, but also being aware enough to be like, if I put a few more banelings than I need here, I'm also going to get the hatchery, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Just the control, of course, is just, this is the obvious, it's the easy thing to pick up, but in ZVZ, it's every inch counts in such a huge manner, and you did a really good job of not leaving anything on the table.
Into game 2 now. What was taken away from this? Any thoughts?
It was the same idea, different results here. But again, both these guys really testing each other early on, confident that they can come in with a lot of aggression and punish. It's especially fascinating to watch these two guys and when they counterattack and when they really want to push the issue. But here we see that Sue just had enough roaches. When you get enough roaches and it's been back and forth with Ling Bane for a while, then you're going to be able to crush them.
And this game was kind of like Ling Muta, not uncommon in this matchup, but when it gets to the point when you're fighting Corruptor against Corruptor with Mutas to help you with that splash damage, that's an interesting fight. It gets a little bit fuzzy there.
Yeah.
Dark, a really big master of these run-bys, doing incredible damage here and there, always pulling Sue's attention, forcing his multitasking, and a pretty glorious fight towards the north-end side of the map towards the end. And these are the hard fights to judge here, when you've got so many Lings and you're up against Roaches and you just got to, like, do I actually win this fight? Pro gamers know.
Sure.
That's about it.
I feel like game 3 for me, when it comes to Korean Zerg versus Zerg, was the most evolved of the 5 matches that we did see actually go down here between them. And obviously, when you go into this situation where it's Corruptor versus Corruptor Muta, it gets a little bit weird, I suppose.
I don't think anybody's comfortable playing that, or frankly speaking, watching it. This is like the second page of Google search results for ZVZ, right? Like nobody really wants to look at this very often, but you have to be prepared for it. And
I guess so.
Dark's got it, man. He's clicked that second O before.
We're on a ZVZ deep dive over here.
That's what we do. Yeah. Moving on to game 4 as well. Anything that we took away from this one?
I mean, this is another one of those Ling Bane scuffles into the Roach headbutt, which happened in the middle of the game. Sue ended up having just the right time to counterattack. He's so good at reading when his opponent has a weakness in his armor and then capitalizing on it. Like, there's never an opening that Sue's not going to capitalize on. And he's just smelt blood in the water, and basically it was as simple as that sometimes, which is sometimes how the matchup can be. You just come across with the better army, and even defender's advantage aside, you just overwhelm.
Going on to game 5 here, this was definitely one that showed the boldness here of Dark to go back into that aggression. One thing about Dark is he has some of the best late game we've ever seen here as a Zerg player, but he's absolutely, when it's the game that counts the most, comfortable coming in and doing a lot of aggression early on.
Yeah. It felt very Korean Zerg versus Korean Zerg to be honest.
Very much so, yeah.
Compared to a Korean Zerg versus European Zerg or a European Zerg versus a European Zerg, because generally those games will get deeper into kind of the thick of things.
You'll generally see more Lurker play, some Vipers later on, that sort of thing, whereas the Koreans more, very heavy Nidus play, lots of Roach Ravager, very rarely Hydras are used at all. Although, you do see the occasional player like Rogue, for instance, we're going to see later on in a few days, does like to play that sort of style, but he's one of the very few exceptions in Korea that likes to play that later game.
Yeah, and from history standpoint, one would argue not as well developed even than some of the European Zergs that have been able to play that kind of style.
Yeah, there are a lot of critics out there in the European Zerg community that are not a huge fan of Korean ZVZ.
We have seen some
I have
interesting
seen a
tweets
little
in the
bit.
past.
I follow most of them.
Yes.
Actually, I follow all of them now.
Yes,
Now that I
there you
think about it. Yep.
European ZVZ is just like, it's like, oh, we've got the future, and then you go look at Korean ZVZ, and you're like, oh, we like found this civilization that's like kind of been untouched by modern technology, and we're like, yes, and then the Europeans bring their ZVZ over, and it's like, oh, then it just gets weird,
So European Zerg versus Zerg is your smartphone, and Korean Zerg versus Zerg is
you look at
spears.
Korean ZVZ, it's like a time capsule of like
those phones that you like.
Yeah, they're using rotary
Hold
phones
on.
in their
Look,
ZVZ.
ZVZ in Korea has always been really aggressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it started out in
true.
StarCraft 1, it was a lot of rushing. Players are stuck on Ling Muta. I think that tradition's kind of stayed here, where players are always more inclined to try to rely on Zerglings, and in StarCraft 2, of course, Banelings, to try to close it out early on. But I think you guys are right. ZVZ, European style, definitely more conservative, definitely more willing to stay back and let the game develop.
And we said that with our ridiculous analogies. So
but
we're right.
Fair, to be fair, the coolest part about that is that it still works against the Koreans when they match up against each other.
Yeah,
so.
that is fair. That is fair. Results coming in for today, of course, as you do see that Dark has been able to advance on in first place here from Group A. That guarantees himself not only a position in the round of 8, but also a first place seed going into that round of 8 as well, which is all important if you want to be able to go up against what you would perceive to be your best opponent moving forwards as a whole. Now we're going to be moving on to our elimination match, as it will be Showtime going up against Special here. Two of our WCS circuit players going head-to-head to see who goes home, is eliminated, they're done, and then obviously the other one has an opportunity to be able to move on to BlizzCon. So, Showtime versus Special. Maynard, Showtime said that this is the opponent he absolutely wanted to avoid out of the group.
Yeah, they have such a great rivalry in WCS, as I mentioned in like the previous segment before Dark and Sue played each other. They're like 17-15, I think, last I looked in maps, and you know, favored for Special. So it's a lot closer than it feels. It feels like Special's been doing a lot better against Showtime lately. And you know, TVP has sort of been turned on its head a little bit recently with the the EMP buff, or that new EMP upgrade for Ghosts. And Special's just been doing so well in the matchup since then. And I feel like, you know, Showtime and a lot of the Protosses actually have been having a lot of a harder time against Terran ever since then.
And Special for the time during this year had a great start to the year, of course, getting himself to that final, Nathanius. Whereas for me, Showtime's kind of been a little bit of a lurker in the background, as it were. He got himself the 8th seed coming into the global finals as a whole from the WCS circuit. So where do you sit on either side of this? Where do you give favor to?
I mean, I agree with Showtime in that it's a difficult opponent for him.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking for people to practice against in Europe, right, as far as like Terrans go, first of all, there's not a lot. Second of all, no one's going to play like Special because he's out here playing with these guys, but he's also talking to people like TY, and he's got these crazy builds. He's doing stuff that nobody that you're going to see in foreign StarCraft is actually doing against Zerg or Protoss.
Yeah.
You're not seeing that level of build variety from guys like Hero Marine, who are mechanically good, but if you're like, oh, I'm going to practice against Hero Marine to prepare for a game against Special, I mean, you're almost playing a completely different matchup because you fully expect when you go up against Special that you're not going to play against standard cookie-cutter builds every game.
Absolutely. It's two very different beasts, I suppose. Tasteless, what's your take on this match?
I think Special should be slightly favored here. I mean, this isn't the matchup he struggles in. Showtime did express a desire to play Zergs here, even though the Zergs in his group are very good, because, as we were mentioning earlier, he's got a bunch of European Zergs he can train for.
He's practicing with Cyril a lot.
Right, exactly. And so, that being said, I mean, if Showtime wins, he is a very good Protoss player, PvT player, but I think this is slightly Special favored, I think.
Yeah.
It's hard to argue with that. Yeah, just based off what Showtime said and just the fact that, you know, Special's not really complaining about the matchup anymore, which is a good indicator that he's not hating it. Because if he doesn't like a matchup, he will let you know, Tasteless.
Yes.
That is fair. And at the same time, when you look forwards into this group, I was about to ask, you know, which one do you think has the best opportunity to be able to advance on when they get themselves into the decider match? But I think ultimately what the last couple of series has proved is that literally anybody can still qualify out of this group as a whole. So it's definitely up in the air. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, as we are now ready to head over into our next game. This is elimination here for our WCS circuit players. One of them will go to the deciders match. One of them will be done. It's Showtime going up against Special.
All right, some excellent analysis down there on the desk, especially coming from Nathanius. Pig, what are you looking for in this matchup?
Well, definitely not a whole bunch of flying jellyfish kind of just spitting acid at each other, that's for sure. I'm sure Nathanius and the rest of us will be very happy with this one. A big Protoss versus Terran, and I mean, I just love Showtime's PvT matches because so often, you know, he's such an honorable Protoss. It's going to sit back, macro a lot, and we often see 2-1 best of 3s, 3-2 best of 5s, games that are very close back and forwards. But there are just these rare moments where he can be a little bit out of position and things can go wrong very quickly. And I guess Special there. I mean, they were talking about how he's a build master. He comes out with a lot of wild plays. It's going to be hard to see what he brings.
All right, well, we are starting game number 1. Let's get into it. top left here in Acropolis. Our German Protoss player, it is showtime.
Makers, showtime.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side in the blue, representing Ocean Gaming, it's Special.
Ocean Gaming, Special.
All right, so looking at this match, most of the people on the desk seem to think that Special was favored here. Would you agree with that assessment?
Maybe like 52%.
Yeah. I was kind of having a very similar feeling.
It's a tough one. Favoring anyone against Showtime is hard, and as much as this might not be the matchup he's been complaining about the most, Special definitely has had his gripes. I know this personally because he comes to my stream every day and challenges me to play Terran against his Protoss to prove a point. I've told him that, it's not going to change the balance no matter how many times he crushes me with his off race. But
Yes.
he just wants me to agree with him. And I've been holding out, but my ego is steadily getting crushed down. So he's definitely a player who's struggled in this matchup. But, I mean, whenever I see him play it, he has fantastic builds. Him and TY always studying together, trying to solve the matchup. So it's not like they come in unprepared.
And I think that he definitely does get frustrated at the matchup sometimes, as Terrans are wont to do, but I think stylistically against a player like Showtime, he does quite a bit better. Like, if you look back in time, he's played Showtime quite a bit. Obviously, they talked about those stats, but also he's played Stats quite a bit in the past, who's a kind of a similarly styled Protoss player. And when you get these Protosses that, as you say, are honorable, the ones that aren't just like, hey, there's a Prism in your base right away, I feel like he tends to do a little bit better. If you don't screw with him right off the bat, he picks himself up into a very strong macro game.
Yeah, I can't help but think back to him, of course, playing against Classic and knocking him out of BlizzCon a year or two ago. I recall Marines stimming forward and opportunistically snapping a Warp Prism filled with High Templar out of the air and quickly going on to win the game. Lots of mass siege tank games back in that matter. Not something we've seen a lot of in recent times. The mass siege tank TVP seems to have gone away.
Okay. All right, one more quick prediction from you before we get into these interesting builds that we're looking at right here. I want to know who you think has a better chance on beating Sue if we are to get a WCS circuit player through.
Oh, man, I mean, that was such a close series there with Special and Sue before, but I think Showtime... I think he's been training in triple gravity, playing against Serral repeatedly, and I think his games against Dark were so close. That series could have gone either way. With the one-hit point Nidus, really, I think that could have changed everything. So I definitely think Showtime has the best chance in the next stage.
He just tried to rocket jump his Reaper over there. That's wonderful. So what we have here is a full walled expansion coming out of Showtime, so just kind of stops all the scouting dead in its tracks. In the meantime, going into a third Nexus as he pushes out the Reaper, and going into Phoenixes as well.
Yeah. I really like this play from Showtime. I mean, it just makes it so awkward for the Terran, unable to see what's going on, and we're going to see the most default build, which is just a Raven opening. A bunker at the front, very safe. This Hellion's going to try to get a little more info. I think what's really cool is if you can hide those Phoenix and get them across the map with 3 or 4 Phoenix, you can time it out and potentially snipe the Raven. And if you take the Raven out, it is ridiculously good for you as the Protoss player.
Yes, the Raven is so important for that first push that generally comes from these builds where you have the 3 barracks, you're generally pushing with a couple factory units. The Raven, I feel like this is kind of a bread and butter opening here from Special.
Yeah.
But if he does do something like snipe that Raven, that is going to be out of control strong.
Oh, did he cancel it, or is it going to the back of the base?
I think it's on the right side. Yeah, it's trying to run away.
Good job.
They both know the mini game that they're playing right now. That's for sure.
Ring around the Raven.
Oh my God! So he's actually going to give up and go after some of the SCVs. Actually takes a Widowmine shot right to the face of that Phoenix, but it just shows the level of these two players. They both know exactly the timings of everything and how to play against it.
I love seeing that sort of interaction there. And Fortune Twilight follow-up, extra gateways going down, and as that third base finishes, we of course see that Showtime has broken out of his natural base, cleared that pylon out. And looks like it will be, just this small number of Phoenix into charge. Now, I feel like with the new EMP, we've been seeing so little just charge lot into Storm.
Yeah.
You know, like the Prism can still dodge the EMP, but do you feel like it's more common for Colossus to be coming out as the follow-up?
Gosh, you know what? When I saw the buff, when I saw the most recent patch in general with the quicker stim as well, I really thought we were going to go into a Colossus-based meta, but it hasn't been the case so much. Like, I've seen maybe a slight increase in those builds, but Protosses seem to be pretty confident they can still hold on. Now, that being said, like, Special's going to move out pretty quickly with an attack here. You know, is this going to actually be a big enough army from Showtime just with a few charge lots and, like, what's he got, a Sentry, a Stalker, a couple of Depths?
Yeah, I mean, he's going right up to 66 workers here. It looks like he wants to take gases on the third. I'd like to see a few more pylons out of him as he is about to hit a supply block. I think 2 rounds of Zealots and you're kind of okay, but it's positionally based. Because the Widow Mine production has now started, Special's like going to crank out 8 Widow Mines in next to no time. They build so quickly.
Yeah.
And I think if you set up a flank, it can make a big difference if you can kind of collapse on this army.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's a lot of back and forth micro, and it's really like high-level force fields kind of zoning out your opponent and that sort of stuff.
Well, these types of builds from Protoss, you know, these kind of Phoenix openers, I know that a lot of players like them. They can get some good harassment. They stop a lot of your opponent's harassment even as well, but sometimes when you hit like that critical mass of a Terran army, they feel just slightly weak. And look, notice how Special he walked out. Now he's walking back. He's reinforcing a little bit. You know, obviously he's getting ready to take that third base. He's building his army to the proper strength where these Phoenixes, their value isn't going to be so high.
Ooh, it'd be nice if they do find some Widow Mines here. Has spotted the army, though, in the middle of the map. Does bait out a bit of a stim. Oh, so many Widow Mines.
Look at this army, and he even pulls the boys.
Oh, man. I mean, there should be Archons out, but he's going for Blink, a second Robo, and a Colossus Bay right now. None of those things are Archons. You need Archons, I think, against this. You need anything you can get that's higher tech right now.
Oh, this is going to be rough. He's already popped the Guardian Shield here as well. Oh, no!
Interference Matrix on the Sentry, but the other one does manage to get a wave of force fields down.
Yeah, really important that he throws that down there and slows down this attack. His Special would just crush this army right now, but continues to push forward. He has a lot of mines in here as well, hitting that third base.
Wow.
Are those Phoenixes going to be worthwhile? You see him burrowing in and unburrowing these mines. He doesn't want the mine drags onto his army.
Oh, huge mine-friendly fire right into the center, but all of those medevacs are still alive. They're still healing, but a lot of Marines went down, and with it, a lot of the firepower. Showtime, does he have enough Zealots on the ground here? So many Widow Mines. There's still 1 or 2 left in the back. Those Stalkers so fragile. Every Zealot that warps in is so valuable. Those medevacs, though, just keep healing.
It looks like he has a couple disruptors out now. Going to throw one forward. Actually gets a couple of the mines here.
Wow.
And Special decides to back up for now. So a nice move from Special, who, by the way, during all this, lost 9 SCVs that were with the push. So he's hurt himself a little bit with that, but I gotta say, I feel like without those mine drags on top of the Terran army, Showtime's dead there.
Yeah, absolutely. Those mines, I mean, the Phoenix, as you said, they're pretty weak in a frontal fight. They found their one utility, which is just sacrificing themselves in, dragging the enemy's Widow Mine shots into their own army, away from your Zealots, and it paid off big in that scenario. Real saving grace, and all those red hit point medevacs are actually really freaking me out. If they all go down, like, Special just loses any sustained ability to stim.
It's so true. He really does need to end up fixing that, and quickly. Here we go. Another little engagement as Special comes down the ramp. Very hard to actually pick up these Marauders as well. Looks like a disruption shot will get one of them. Special picking up, maybe going towards the main.
Yeah, there's an Observer and a Stalker kind of keeping eyes out for that.
Well, that's all you need when all the medevacs are at like 1 hit point here.
I mean, this is such a dangerous position for Special right now. He is going up to 1/1 upgrades. +1 attack just now starting for Showtime. Showtime not going for an upgrade focus. He's up to 6 disruptors. Wow, I thought it was a few disruptors just to help against the push, but this is a real disruptor focus style.
Well, this has gotten a bit more popular lately. We've seen a lot of the Korean players going into disruptors, mostly Trap, really, who has a kind of similar style to Showtime. So not surprised to see that he's learned a little bit from there. Definitely can be hard to play against, but it's something that Special does have a lot of experience playing against as well.
Warp Prism is finally on the way as well. I think this is really Showtime's moment to explode. Special now going up to a 4th command center. I believe he's going to be adding things like double upgrades and extra starports in the near future. Showtime moving out in the middle of the map. We talked about how sometimes his weakness is getting caught out of position. Well, he's got recall available. I don't know if he has enough Nexus energy there. He doesn't actually. He's going to try and warp in a few Zealots, but those pylons just going to disappear. That 4th base is toast.
Oh my god, he's actually going for a counterattack right now. I think he can definitely force this 3rd base up, but is he going to be able to kill Special during all this? Definitely don't think so.
Yeah, all the SCVs get out of there as well, so I think there's trade of a base. Oh, man!
Oh, just barely snipes that down before it explodes. And it looks like he will barely save this command center as well. A great move here from Special.
You got to defend at home, Showtime. Showtime cannot afford to lose the 3rd. Okay, it looks like he has managed to deflect that drop with a Zealot warp in. Both sides just taking a lot of losses here so far. Oh, nice disruptor shot there. And this is a hard position for Special. If you're pinned back, those disruptors are going to wear you down. I think the Warp Prism is nowhere to be seen. It's down to the south, getting ready to go into the main base. These disruptors very exposed right now.
Ooh. Oh, targeting the wrong one down there for a moment, but he is picking off quite a few of these. Another flank coming in here from Special, going after those disruptors as quickly as he possibly can. Only Stalkers left to defend them. Oh, just barely not enough damage output.
And the Zealots come in now to seal the deal, and with that, he's going to try to lift up and get out of there, but the Stalker's going to take a few of those medevacs out, and that's a fantastic position. Showtime's got him pinned back. Disruptors continue to rally across the map. This is everything Showtime needs.
Luckily, this planetary will keep Special alive and in the game right now, but a Prism going into his main base, this could be a huge move. A few Zealots being warped in, but Special, he's being taxed absolutely everywhere. Has to run away that 3rd base once again.
Yep, DT's being added into the mix now. The turret does go down. No, nice repair. Oh, great mass repair there. The turret does finally fall. Special, of course, down on supply, pinned back here, dealing with a lot of different problems. Showtime in maximum control of this game. He's got +3 armor versus +1 attack. Oh, dude.
Oh, that's brutal. I wasn't even looking at that. Look at this. He only has his +2 attack almost halfway done. So as far as this game goes, Showtime in a dominating spot. Special hasn't been able to put on any pressure in quite some time.
Yeah, those Zealots just do not go down to Marauders. The Marauders do almost no damage to them. It's kind of scary at this point. Even DT's mixed into the army as well. And going to continue to poke and prod here. Nice Widowmine targeting there by Special. Does end up finding the clump of Stalkers. And Disruptor shots, though, going to start to zone Special back. It's just Bio in a ball. There's no support for it. Another good Disruptor shot zoning Special out. And remember, he's out of medevac energy. He cannot heal that Bio up. He can't keep doing this.
Yeah, he's got to be very careful about that indeed. But you know what? He's microing very well right now. Starting to get a few Liberators out. We'll see where he sends them to. It looks like he wants to get some harassment done. The Ghosts adding to the fray as well. Of course, as he gets those enhanced shockwaves, that becomes such a powerful spell. But is he too far behind?
Oh, those Disruptors, such a good zoning tool here. Going to turn in, take a few SCVs. Zealots in the main, army posturing at the 3rd at the same time. That's the move that you need. Showtime wants to seal the deal here. He knows that he can keep trading with these charge lots well, but this is not just going to be a good trade. There's not enough units to hold this right now. Special's going to have to split a big chunk of his army up there to help defend, and Showtime in absolute control of this game.
Yeah, he is. But hey, look, Special's starting to get something done here. He actually runs over here, forces a recall, so that will give him some time to clean everything up. He has a group going over to the 4th base, dropping in the main, and he also has a Liberator at the 3rd. Special absolutely everywhere right now.
The Liberator rotates into the natural at the same time. The Bio picks up and saves it. Those Stalkers are like, hey, where'd you go? The Liberator's like, hey, buddy, I'm over here. And goodbye, even more probes on the natural. Redrops in the 4th, or 5th base, I should say. Wow. Oh, he changes targets.
Oh, he thought he had it right there. Maybe he missed counting those armor upgrades for a moment. A little bit of a misfeel from Special. But you know what? This got Showtime off his back. He's retaking his 3rd base. You know, this worker count, it's not the end of the world right now. I feel like if he can continue to keep some of that pressure on, this could be a game that he climbs his way out of.
Yeah, it's not a good position, but it's way better than where he was from before. It suddenly looks like it's doable. The dream is alive.
That's a lot of disruptors, though, Pig.
That is an absurd pack of disruptors right there. Big shots going forward. I mean, he's focusing down on them has been pretty good, but you can't focus them all down in time.
I know, 6 to 8 disruptors in there. It is a tough one indeed. Another comes out and gets a couple units. Showtime with some superb micro. Special fighting back as best he can as he's finally going to reach 2-2.
Yeah, I mean, you've got +1 plasma shields about to finish, +3 attack on the way. Showtime just furthering his lead. Not one to just get trigger happy and try to force it. He knows that over time these disruptor shots are going to give him insane value, and a huge shot in the center of that bio.
Oh my god, just look at this micro on both sides. It looks like, though, Special is starting to be pushed back. He's trying to trade, but even the Stalkers are too strong, and GG is called. Showtime takes game number 1.
Very nice play there from the German Protoss. Breathes a sigh of relief there. Good way to start the series on Acropolis.
Yeah, and look, I mean, that was a very clutch game from him, I would say. He looked strong, but let's not forget, that entire game came down to 4 Phoenixes dragging the mines over Special's army. Special, I feel like he made all the right choices, but maybe should have had his mines unburrowed as they flew over. It was a very obvious move from Showtime, and if he hadn't done that, he actually dies there. His army just could not stop what Special had.
It's actually a very, scary moment. I was going to ask you if you think the unburrow is the right move, but I mean, that was not a giant swarm of Zealots hitting at the same time. It was kind of a 1-2 punch. The Phoenixes come in first, drag the mine hits, the Zealots and the rest of the army follows, and you've got to unburrow, even if it means the fight starts and your Widow Mines take a little longer to fire. It's much better than taking out all of your Marines and medevacs.
Absolutely. Well, it ended up costing him the game at the end of the day, but we're going into map 2 on Winter's Gate.
Right up here in the top left-hand side of Winter's Gate, in the red, representing Makers and hailing from Germany, he is Showtime.
Makers, Showtime.
And in the bottom right, losing a close game number 1, our Mexican Terran, he is
Ocean Gaming, Special.
A Phoenix opening there in game 1. Interesting to see that one because, you were talking about how the Phoenix opening not that powerful and things were looking dire. I've got to agree. That sort of opening from Special, and this is what we see most games, it's usually a barracks, then a gas, you get a Reaper out, but other than that, you're just building a bunker at your expansion and you're just sitting there and you're trying to get up your Raven, your 3 barracks, and you don't really do a lot until it's time to move out and you do your 2 base push while building your 3rd command center behind it, and it's kind of like you need to do damage. You need to at least trade armies with the Protoss, you need to keep them off a 4th base for a long time. It's something, though, where, the Phoenix, I think, are fantastic against early pressures, right? Widow Mine drops, a Liberator that's trying to come in, a Cyclone that's trying to run across the map. Anything like that is where the Phoenixes, they're just so good in those tiny skirmishes, right?
Well, I think that they are very good in those situations, but as soon as you see that they have Phoenixes, if you are not waiting for a critical mass, if you're flying around with technical units against a Phoenix opener, you truly deserve to lose, and you probably shouldn't be at BlizzCon. So the fact that Special saw that and countered it as hard as he did really keeps me pretty confident that I feel like he's still even money to win this match, even though he lost game number 1. Whereas Showtime, I'm like, the thing is, I love Showtime in his play. He's a great defensive Protoss. He's very strong, very smart. Definitely has his own style. But I feel like, doing builds like that, you're almost inviting danger. You know, that there's not a lot of stability in a build like that if your opponent knows how to play against it.
Yeah, you don't want to do that opening every game in a series, right? They're going to get better and better at capitalizing on it. Interesting point here with Special's opening in this game, skipping out on the Reaper, knowing the ledge is easily blocked. and actually just going for a fast factory, skipping on the bunker. But I also believe he skipped the SCV scout. So that's cool. So Special's basically saying, I'm just going to be greedier this game. Managed to kill the early probe with the Marine coming out, about 10 seconds earlier than the Reaper, surprising it. And this is just Special saying, let's play a little bit greedy. You're Showtime. You're the sort of guy who always gets his Nexus down before his Cybercore if he thinks he can get away with it. You love to sit at home defensively. So I like this kind of kickstart to the economy for Special. You might think, oh, what's a Worker Scout? What is it, skipping a Reaper? 50 minerals, 50 gas for a Reaper, that adds up. The Worker Scout, that's usually going to mine over 100 or more minerals over the time that it's running around the map looking for things. So I really love this adjustment from Special.
Yeah, and it really does make that big difference, as you mentioned there. Now, this is a Blink opener into Robo, a pretty standard opener here from Showtime. But there are some Hellions and Marines on the way across the map.
Yeah, and Cloak Banshee behind it. TY loves this build as well. I love this build. It's such a good one. It hits so early here, but a good wall of shield battery is not ready just yet. The Marines and the Hellions, though, I really don't think they can test it.
No.
I mean, that's two Stalkers in front of each other. You've got the Adept behind it. Another Stalker warps in. Showtime doesn't miss a beat. He's even ready for the full wall. He's expecting a Hellion drop, and he's not going to let anything get in there.
No, this is beautiful play. I love seeing players that will react so decisively like this. Walling yourself completely, because if the Hellions get in, that's game over a lot of the time as Protoss. You end up losing way too many probes to be able to come back at this level.
Yeah, even if you have a third Nexus finishing by the time the damage is done, you're like, I've got 3 base versus 2 and 18 probes. Okay, yeah, we're down. We're just out of this game. The whole goal when you're in Showtime shoes is just lock down the interaction. Don't let them come in and damage your economy. And he's achieved it so far fantastically.
And you know what? Special knows exactly what's going on right now. He knows that that's Blink. He knows that there's observers on the way and all this. And he started his third command center. I love it, because you're not going to get damage done.
Yeah.
The best you can do is just kind of poke him and prod him and hope he stays in his base.
And I would really love to see these Banshees used like what I call Maru Banshees, which is 2018 when Maru won every GSL. The number of times his first Banshee got shut down, and then he'd like hide 2 Banshees for 6 minutes, and they'd come back in at the perfect moment and kill 30 workers. And you'd be like, it was worth it.
Yeah.
You thought it got shut down, and it looks like he does actually just go straight in. Where's the Observer? We saw it siege up down at the 3rd base.
This is ridiculous damage. 5 probes with that first Cloak Banshee when you're already making your 3rd command center. We have 42 SCVs to 40 probes. This is a great situation right now for Special.
That's a really nice start to things. The Raven versus the Colossus as well. Very good tech choice.
Well, I'm actually kind of interested to see what Showtime's reaction is going to be at this point, because he's taking so much damage.
No shield battery, yeah.
And look at this. He actually just canceled his armor, switched it into attack. Not too surprised about that. But 5 more probes going down. This... I almost feel like Showtime should be deciding to do an all-in from here. Like, once you figure out what he has, the fact that he already has his 3rd command center, I don't think you are going to be in a good place if you take a 3rd Nexus.
I mean, if you do that, you got to build 2 Nexus right now, right? Like, you got to just hold down the probe key. But even then, how do you defend that economy? It's insane.
Well, even the standard push-out that'll come from Special, he's got a Raven. Do you have enough units to meet him in the center of the map to stop the Raven from destroying your Colossus attacks?
Yeah, that's a good point, Dan. I mean, 1 Colossus, 6 Stalkers, a Centurion in the depth. Not the most fearsome armies.
No, it's not. Oh my god. I mean, he's got all these fancy upgrades and stuff, but this is not looking good right now for Showtime.
Yeah, the economy getting cut out from underneath him here. And another Banshee walks in. This time Showtime says, no, get out. Shuts that one down.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's something at least. Showtime gonna go over and scout. He sees, 3rd base is down. There's lots of siege tanks. There's a Raven. This all looks like it's very good against this Colossus type tech.
Factory's still on the tech lab, so it's continued tank production for now. I mean, to counter that, there are a few different options, right? Definitely just a charge zealot heavy army saying, hey, you're not building Widow Mines, right? I can just go for the 2nd Forge. Thing is, reacting to that now, it's going to be so long before your armor upgrades kick in. I feel like Disruptors and trying to slow down the push may be the best option here.
That's actually a really good point that you bring up there. I mean, especially if you're fighting around those bubulas, you can really kind of slow down the Terran army from getting in on top of you.
Yeah.
I also like the position that he took for his 3rd. I feel like if he took the other 3rd, the siege tank-based attack would just kill him. So, I mean, Showtime maybe he has a shot here if he just kind of stays back and does slow him down, as you say.
Yeah, right now we've got a 15 worker lead for the Terran. Not something we see very often. Protoss wants to have the worker lead in this matchup. Very high-tech army, though, for Protoss with the Colossus.
It's funny watching Special run from this right now. It's like just a little harassment force that he has out. Of course, you can't attack into this, as Showtime very quickly finds out. Special throwing down a scan, wondering what's going on. Is there more there than he thought? No, there's not.
50 probes versus 70, that is rough. No gases coming down in the third anytime soon. Archon's coming in. Showtime, yeah, I mean, he looks like he wants to go for some sort of all-in Colossus Archon charge lot. And I mean, if you ambush this army just right, there is a chance. Combat Shield's not quite done yet, but I don't think he knows about the move out of Special. Both sides just moving past each other.
That's kind of crazy. Okay, the Archons actually catch view.
Oh, yeah.
So, all right, he's going to come up and maybe he'll find a good angle. I mean, if you attack into him against some of these slow zones, it's going to be huge.
Wow, that bio army really far away from the siege tanks. Hits himself with his anti-armored missile as well, but does keep all that fight far away from the siege tanks. Raven is gone now, though.
All right, well, that was as good an engagement for Showtime as I think we're likely to see for that first little bit of it. But Special continues to rally up. He's got a lot of tanks here. Here comes Showtime, but the tanks start to really push back these Colossi.
Yeah, those Colossus being focused fired there, and they are going to fall. Both Colossus go down. The last one remaining on the left, and what have you got? 2 Archons, a Colossus, a couple Stalkers, and an Adept. This is not the army you want. Special here, just taking the lead with that fantastic Banshee harass early. A desperate Zealot backstab coming in, trying to pull Special away, but he will not change his mind. He's going to keep on pushing it.
No, he's going to kill this Colossus, he's going to kill all the Warpins, he's going to kill the base, he's going to kill Showtime, and this series is going to be tied up 1-1.
Yep, that is it. Our Zealots here going to, put on a heroic effort defending the third base. Siege tank saved deep in the red. Special, of course, has just got so much more stuff building behind this.
He's just kind of attack moving at this point. Realistically, he should lift off the Vikings and kill that Colossus, but Showtime right now is kind of in that desperation mode where he knows that this game is pretty much done.
Viking drops.
Yeah, no, that's the way.
Twitch chat's finally getting what they wanted.
You see this? He's kiting Vikings against Zealots right now. That's actually the state of this game. He sees the Colossus like, okay, back to the air. Well, at least Showtime is going into disruptors here. Maybe, you get... The thing is, the disruptor is truly the ultimate comeback unit.
Yeah, it really is. I would have loved to see it as the initial decision rather than the Colossus Archon charge where he just didn't quite have the numbers there. Something where you can just buy time. Disruptors and DTs, right? The two comeback kind of behind units for Protoss.
Yeah.
But right now, just a couple disruptors trying to keep him in this game. The Vikings are going to just eliminate those Colossus so easily. They're not really a threat anymore. It's more about the Stalkers and the Disruptors up against this Bio-Lib.
Yeah, and look at this. Special just pushing forward slowly here, sets up his liberation zones. He's just looking to not take disruptor shots, micro heavily here, and Showtime's army is just so much smaller, so much weaker.
Well, non-stimmed dodge.
Yeah,
that was impressive.
Whips that one. What can you do? Showtime putting up a very good fight considering.
Yeah, I mean, just micro-training it, really. He's just kind of going through the motions, exercising it, saying, let's just see how well I can execute. This puts pressure on my opponent. I know I've probably lost this game, but every time I make my opponent work, I make him put in that extra effort. I know my opponent doesn't really like playing against my race, sometimes gets a little bit annoyed.
Yeah.
If I can just make him work for this a bit more, if I make this game a bit closer, I might be able to kind of break some of his confidence. So Showtime just hanging on in here, says, I've got nothing to lose, and just really putting Special through his paces.
Yeah, I mean, he's got all night. You don't want to give up any games here. The loser of this series is eliminated from the WCS World Championships, and that is not what you're looking to do when you come here to Korea. You really do want to make it to BlizzCon.
This Liberator's going to come and siege the front of the base there. Stalkers, Zealots, Colossus, and Disruptors here. Once again, another push, trying to find an angle, trying to find a way in. Showtime is, he's got some pretty good control of these units, but definitely does not have the units to really smash through those Liberators. Oh, does get one.
I love the way that he's really approaching this right now, just gaining value wherever he can, poking and prodding. There's no reason to sit back defensively at this point, because if you do, Special is going to really be able to finish you off. I really I mean, I said it before. I thought this game was already over, but Showtime kind of showing us the ways to try to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Thought he'd lost the disruptors there, you know, left one of the control groups behind, but Showtime, not one of the players who makes that sort of mistake. He's going to try to push in there as the Libs weren't sieged up. Does end up having to disengage, though. Behind this, the fourth base is getting up for Showtime. Still not a great economy, but he's just microing his way around, pinning back this army. No range on the Libs, no siege tanks. This gives Showtime the range superiority. He's also got big splash damage against a very light, kind of small army. It's very weak against that splash damage. He's really got to respect every single disruptor shot.
Yeah, he does. I can't believe we're on like even army supply at this point.
Yeah.
That's just madness, especially when we saw Special literally clear the entire army and have a lot left over. But Showtime, he's shown a lot of gumption.
Yeah, he's really hanging on in there. The problem is he really can't split his army and defend multiple bases. So the moment Special stabilizes at home, he does send a drop out to the other side of the map, and Showtime has to use recall. His entire army comes back, and suddenly now Special, I mean, the pressure's alleviated. He can pick up the rest of his army, he can zoom across the map, he's going to get the Warp Prism, and he can just spring into action, hitting Showtime from all directions. Showtime is not going to be able to manage his army as actively while dealing with all that, and that's going to open up opportunities for Special.
Yeah, his probe count has been very low comparatively this entire game as well. We've been up at least 20 workers for most of it here for Special. So he's going to be able to continue his macro forward. He's on 4 well-saturated bases right now, and really starting to pull him apart with some of this multitasking harassment.
There's an SCV in that dropship. Wants to be a Marine. It's dropped into Showtime's main. Planetary Fortress is going to tank some crazy amounts of damage. The Disruptor shot's coming out here, trying to keep Showtime alive. I think he's got one more in the back there. He's trying to pull out. A lot of Vikings actually falling there. A nice staggered retreat back at home. Has forced that drop to pick up, but continuing to redrop around, Special being as annoying as he possibly can.
Yeah, well, the Disruptor hit getting pretty decent right there. Another one as well. Showtime continuing to micro his heart out, even doing some harassment during all of this, but Special's harassment really hurting him as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is such cool play from Showtime. Fighting from behind for a while here. But finally, his push gets cleaned up. Special dancing around with just a single dropship to take advantage of the fact that Showtime is broke. And looks like Special here going to pound on in. EMP is a single zealot. And with that, it is going to be GG. The series is tied up.
Yeah. I mean, Special had a gigantic lead there for a very long time, but Showtime fought very bravely. There at the end, we even saw Dark Shrine coming in, so he knew things were dire. He was going to go for the next comeback that we were talking about after those disruptors.
The Desperation Shrine, man.
Yeah. Unable to make that one work, though. And that means we go on to map number 3, Ephemeron.
I love that, making your opponent work for it, especially when you clearly are expert with this disruptor style. We've seen it in both games. At some point, Showtime, rather, generic but different types of openings in both games, and then always veering into the disruptor tech. So I love that. I think it makes it so hard for the Terran player to engage. We saw how Showtime was able to pin back a superior Terran army and just rotate between different attack paths. And each time those Liberators unsieged, the bio moved over, you're actually putting an inordinate amount of APM tax on your opponent. Every time the Terran player moves, he has to respread his bio, he's got to re-siege his libs. Whereas as the Protoss, you really could just move your army around in a blob between attack paths, and you just need to micro those disruptor shots out. And every now and then, hey, there's a Liberator out, blink forward, snipe it off, and go from there.
Yeah, definitely a good analysis of what we saw there. Now it's time to go into map number 3, Showtime versus Special. In the top left, our German Protoss putting up quite a fight in game number 2. He is
Makers Showtime.
And down here in the bottom right-hand side, the Blue Terran representing Ocean Gaming. He is
Ocean Gaming Special.
It's an interesting barracks location.
Kind of a slightly forward there. Slightly forward there, as we were saying. That's like kind of in between a proxy and a Macarac, so
yeah,
it should force a reaction out of Showtime because you don't know exactly where it is. I mean, it could be very close to you. You don't know what else. Are they going to proxy something else? Or are they going to build their factory at home? Generally, it's at home with these builds, but I would imagine that Showtime will go for a Cybernex core before his Nexus, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Cybercore already does go down, and I mean, some people like to even go for a really fast second gas and really play one base, like Classic sometimes does that, where he's like, no, I need my Stargate, I need my Oracles, I don't know what's coming, you know, I need to counter it. In this case, Showtime starts the Zealot, starts the Nexus. Zealot there actually before Pylon, interestingly enough. So then the Pylon goes down, and then he's going to go back into pro production. Really calculated response, and just checking everywhere for that follow-up. And seeing the factory starting at a normal time on the high ground, it kind of tells you, okay, this isn't like a crazy all-in build.
No.
You know, there's going to be a Reaper or two that could pop in early. I got to be careful against that. But it's probably going to be a more chilled out follow-up, and especially in the current meta, you usually see people pull off gas so they can get a faster command center. But right now, I think he's pulled maybe 2 workers off gas.
Okay.
We didn't quite get a glimpse of it, but something like that. Yeah, there we go. Command center goes down.
I think you're right. You know, Showtime will be looking at that factor in the high ground and just knowing, okay, I made the right decisions. You know, made the Nexus, didn't go for that second gas. He's not kind of overdoing it as far as countering this goes, and we'll just get directly into a Stargate now.
Stargate, of course, going to give you absolute scouting of the follow-up. That's what I really love about it. You know, Robo looks good against a lot of these weird builds because Observers are nice for spotting Banshees, Immortals are good versus weird tank pushes and things. The problem comes with that it doesn't give you the same flexibility. Getting a Phoenix or an Oracle across the map straight away, it forces a response, does damage. If your opponent goes Banshees, you can hunt those down, so definitely love the flexibility that Stargate offers, but simply by it being delayed because of the opening, I think Special's like kind of, you know, well practiced in this play out of it. Sure. And even though his economy is not quite where he wants to be, he's already messed up Showtime's kind of knowledge of the game timings a little bit. Opens up some opportunities for Special to surprise him with the next waves.
Yeah, I really like your assessment there. There's nothing like flying your Observer across the map just in time to figure out that you're dead. So, yeah, I do like it. But it's one of these Phoenix openers again. Do you think we're going to see that same type of play out of him once again? Like Phoenix into charge lots with the third base?
I reckon exactly the same, yeah. And I think it's much better here because there's a Widowmine drop. As long as he kind of gets wind of it, things can still go wrong. We've seen it many times that Phoenix missed this. But if he catches that, it's fantastic. And I think Special is probably just going to go into the Raven and the normal build. It's just slightly delayed by that Widowmine drop, but Phoenix is going to be amazing versus this. If you can pick up all 3 Widow Mines, then that's incredible.
Now, look at this. He's actually hitting with those Reapers at the same time to try to draw anything that'll be over here. But the Phoenixes are waiting. And look at this. They get over here. They lift. Oh, beautifully done. Beautifully done.
That is incredible. The Adept's getting under as well. Will they burrow? Will they burrow? No, not done in time. That Medevac should get hunted down as well.
Well, that right there, that's enough that I love the Phoenix opener. You know, these are, I feel like it's very much one way or the other. The mines get off, then suddenly I feel like the Terran's way ahead. You kill all that with the Phoenixes, and suddenly, well, do you really have a nice timing like we saw in game number 1 here as Special? I don't think so.
No. I mean, he's going to have a few Vikings out, so that does make it hard for the Phoenix to harass. At least he's got that. He's got a 3rd command center on the way, a little bit faster than the 3rd Nexus, which, I mean, that sounds good. Hey, you're only down 6 workers, Terran versus Protoss. Then you've got to remember the fact that Stim and Combat Shields is going to finish at like the 13-minute mark. You know, Protoss has so much time to do whatever he wants with the economy in the next few minutes.
Yeah, it's really true. You can really quite explode here. In fact, we just saw him start up the +1 armor. Started blink for a second, thought better of it, went into charge. I think it's completely fine. It seems like he's kind of dominating the skies. He can't really be harassed, and he's going to have enough time to macro up.
Yeah. Good progression here. Templar Archives comes down rather quick once again. I'd love to see Special really, Showtime committing to a lot of chrono boost on his probes. I think definitely the ability to shift that focus, recognize where you are in this game. Those Vikings not going to be turning into any aggressive push anytime soon. But Special, I mean, he's going to build up into the economy, and sometimes I think we get, you know, Terran players, myself included, get too much in our own head about, oh, I've got to stop the Protoss. I can't give him too much time. But we've seen Special do maxed out timing attacks with like Ghost, Viking, Bio, 1-1, where he has taken out Protosses on 180, 190, Supply before. We've seen him play to much later stages of the game. And just looking at the work account, it really is not that bad for him. He's going to float his third down straight away. It's just you have to make sure if you are going up to that full 3-base economy, you don't leave a big opening for a big Zealot attack to get in your mineral lines.
What do you think, Pig, about this Archon that we've seen made already here? I mean, I feel like Showtime has a good amount of scouting here. Obviously, the Archon adds a little bit of tankiness to this army, but I feel like that's kind of almost an odd choice.
Yeah, it does seem like it's a little bit rushed. Normally, Archons, you want to make them to buff out your army when there's a lot of fighting going on. Either you're going for an attack or you've got to defend something, you're worried something's coming in. So, I mean, Showtime here, he's got so much vision. Maybe just added a little bit of safety there, had a bit of excess gas. He is still adding the second forge and going for the robotics now. So I wholly expect that robotics support bay and the second robo to be going down, just like we saw in game 1.
Yeah, I definitely do think that's the right course of action at this point. Looks like a Viking flying across the map for a bit of harassment. Of course, Vikings are going to two-shot these probes, so that's beautiful.
Nice. Yep, we'll get 2 workers there and might even get on out of there. Phoenixes caught a little bit off guard, and a little Marine Widowmine drop there, sneaking its way across the map, has barely dodged those Phoenixes. Big opportunities for damage off small commitments here from Special, testing the waters.
Well, if it works out, he's going to look like a genius here. Let's see it. All right, dropping out some of these Widowmines. Showtime very quickly moving these probes out, though.
Yeah, good on burrow, and wants to go for the quick burrow, but the Phoenix always punishing that move. One more Widowmine in the main. This may be where the money's at.
Nope, just so quick with these as well. I mean, Special trying to be a little bit greedy, but I think that's fine. Taking, kind of the little bit of a risk of the unburrow, skip killing 2 probes for the possibility to kill much more.
Medevac actually is going to get out for now, but 4th base on the way now for Showtime. Disruptor production on the way 2 at a time. The Oracle goes down this time. That revelation has been a really big boon to Showtime in the previous games. He's not going to have it this time around. That army moving forward. His disruptors aren't here just yet.
Oh my god, is he actually supposed to fight this right now? Let's see. The mines actually go ahead and burrow. Where is he actually targeting them? Looks like he hits a couple stalkers, was going for those sentries, but some good micro here from Special, and he will pull back most of his army over that bridge.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice opportunistic dive in there from Special, looking for the 4th base. Does end up losing a lot of Widowmines, but you know what? They're not the most expensive unit. He can replace those. The scary thing for Special is, hey, your Protoss opponent's going up to 4 base, he's getting the disruptors, and he's finding that room for himself to add things like DT tech. So I really think, if a Warp Prism slides out, we've already got Zealot counterattacks working their way across the map. Backstab setting up. You add DTs, Prisms, Zealot sliding into the main. It's going to be very hard. Special doesn't want to go home and build missile turrets. He wants to keep the aggression on his opponent, so he's going to keep posturing over here.
Yeah, is he going to be able to actually push over a bridge, though? I really don't think so. You've got Charge, decent upgrades, you've got Blink, you've got Disruptors. Yeah, I mean, I can't see him poking the edges here and getting things done without increasing his tech.
Yeah, he's got the EMP Radius of the Sun upgrade, as Roddy calls it, on the way there.
It feels like it.
It is a big one. Storm hasn't been that big, so it's mostly going to be for eliminating shields in this matchup. Marine Marauder Micro, very good there. Special pulling back every weakened unit to keep them alive from those Zealots.
Yeah, he's still just kind of roaming around the map right now. I love his sensor tower placement. I feel like he's putting out a strong game. His 4th command center is just about to finish. He's staying on top of his upgrades as well. I just don't see much potential for damage.
Oh no. That was a moment, of just getting a little bit sloppy. That army wandering into the middle of the map, your opponent's territory. He didn't expect his opponent's army to be there. He's going to move back in on the right-hand side, but Stalkers shut down the Widowmine drop on the left. On the right-hand side, an Observer knows exactly where this army is, and DT see it as well. He knows everything. You got to get out of there right now, Special. You have to leave.
I tell you what, Showtime is really gaining his nickname of being the wall right now. He is shutting down absolutely everything that Special's doing. But to be fair, I mean, Special is defending reasonably well against some of this harassment also.
Yeah, Special's economy getting worn down a little bit, though. His 4th just landing. as the 5th base is going up for Showtime. Showtime, now he says, hey, I just pushed so much stuff off the map. I've got Phoenix patrolling on the top and the bottom side of the map. And look at this, it's time to just get in here. DT's getting ready to run to the natural while this army pushes over to the left-hand side. Special, where's the Liberators, where's the tanks? You don't have them? How do you take this fight against that many disruptors? What can you possibly do against this? You need to somehow hope all the disruptor shots whiff.
Yeah, that is a big hope right there. I mean, even if they only get 1 or 2 units, you're kind of forcing the Terran to be back right now.
Yeah.
Showtime definitely in control of this game.
Oh, I mean, the Disruptors did throw out a lot of shots early. They're a bit far forward. Oh, the Disruptor's actually mostly on cooldown right now. Showtime going a little bit too far forward. He's got to get those Disruptors behind that army. And there we go. The Disruptors come off cooldown.
Oh, a huge Disruptor hit. Another big one as well. Special pushing him back momentarily there. Looking like he was going to do a great job, but Showtime gaining his value.
And right now, the tech is just right for Showtime. And it's not quite there for Special. You can beat this army with Bio Ghost. It's just very difficult without the tanks or the libs when you're pinned back like this. You want to be mobile out on the map. You don't want this one-directional engagement, but Showtime, he's in control. He shut down the harassment earlier, and now he is forcing Special to engage into him. He says, you want to defend your natural, you're going to have to walk into these disruptor shots.
Oh, he does throw out those disruptor shots. Gets 2 of the ghosts right there, so I mean, a pretty good pickoff, but great dodging so far here from Special. Not taking any big disruptor hits as of yet. Another great dodge from him as well, and it looks like he should be able to push this back.
Yeah, I mean, it may be a slight overextension there by Showtime, but he's been doing damage. He's got a gigantic economy throughout it all, adding Storm, adding all of these things in. You can see Special load up a drop and send it out the right-hand side. That's so important. The moment Showtime's able to put all of his attention on the front, he's just never going to lose that ball of disruptors. He's going to keep picking away at you. But if you can get in there and create some chaos on his side of the map, start to hit his worker lines, maybe, just maybe, you can work your way back into this game.
We're going to see if he's able to do that. Another good disruptor hit here as Special drops into the 5th base of Showtime. Showtime pushing down right now, getting into Special's 3rd. He has such a large army. Oh, another big disruptor hit as well.
Oh, and with that, Special forced out of that game. Showtime, the master of disruptors in this series, and he's just on fire. Wow. Dominating play there. Once he gets control of it, it feels like he's sitting back for so long, but the moment he shuts down the harassment and gets on Special's side of the map, it feels like it's an impossible situation for Special to deal with.
He just looks so good with this new disruptor style of play. You know, he's zoning everything out very well. His defense is amazing. His pushes are really strong. We did see him kind of mess up and overextend a couple times.
Yeah, just
but
slightly.
He made up for it when the disruptors came off cooldown.
Yeah, incredible play there. Well, I can't wait to see where this series goes. Guys, we're going to be right back after a very short break.